In a village where the wind never stopped whispering, shadows behaved strangely. They didn't always belong to the people they followed. Aiko first noticed it on a late afternoon when the sky turned the color of peach skin. She was walking home along the narrow stone path when her shadow lagged behind, then waved at her. Aiko froze. The shadow tilted its head. Then slowly it detached from her feet like ink lifting off paper and slipped into the tall grass. That night she couldn't sleep. The wind outside her window sounded like someone humming her name. The next day, Aiko followed the place where her shadow had disappeared. Beyond the grass lay a forgotten shrine, half swallowed by moss and thyme. Its wooden gate leaned like it was tired. Charms fluttered, though there was no wind inside the clearing. And there, waiting for her, was her shadow. But it wasn't flat anymore. It stood upright, thin and trembling, like a person made of smoke. "You took too long," it said, its voice like leaves brushing together. Aiko didn't scream. She stepped closer. "Why did you leave me?" The shadow hesitated. "Because you didn't need me anymore." The shadow led her into the shrine. Inside, darkness pooled like water, but it wasn't empty. Shadows lived there, hundreds of them. Some curled up like sleeping animals. Others clung to the ceiling like drifting clouds. A few wandered aimlessly, whispering to themselves. "These are the forgotten ones," her shadow explained. "The ones people outgrew or abandoned." Aiko watched a small shadow trying to mimic the shape of a bird, failing again and again. "What happens to them?" she asked. "They fade," it said simply. Days passed. Aiko began visiting the shrine in secret. She brought stories. She told the shadows about the outside world, the taste of summer fruit, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter. In return, the shadows showed her things. They could stretch into memories. They could become doors. They could replay moments people had tried to forget. One evening, her shadow asked, "Do you want to see why I left?" Aiko hesitated, then nodded. The shrine grew silent. The shadows gathered, and then the darkness opened. She saw herself. Not as she was now, but younger, crying in the rain, calling out for someone who never came back. Her shadow stood beside that smaller version of her, trying to comfort her, stretching, reaching, failing. "I stayed with you," the shadow whispered. "For years. But you stopped looking down. You stopped needing me to hold your sadness." Aiko felt something twist inside her chest. "I didn't forget you," she said quietly. The shadow didn't respond. The next morning, the village began to change. People noticed their shadows acting strangely. Some refused to follow. Some pointed toward the shrine. Some disappeared. Panic spread like fire. But Aiko understood. The shadows weren't rebelling. They were searching for the pieces of themselves left behind. That night, Aiko returned to the shrine one last time. The shadows were restless now, stretching toward the entrance, eager. Her shadow stood at the threshold. "Will you come back?" Aiko asked. The shadow looked at her, not with eyes, but with something deeper. "Only if you need me." Aiko stepped forward. Then slowly, she held out her hand. "I do." The wind outside stopped, for the first time in years, and one by one the shadows began to return to their people, not as silent followers, but as quiet companions. Aiko walked home under a sky full of unmoving clouds. Her shadow followed beside her, not behind.